Excuse me, sir. Can I see some ID?
Yes. Is something wrong?
Where'd you get that laptop?
I'm sorry.
Turn around, you're under arrest.
This is William Lawson, a PhD candidate days away from defending his dissertation. And this is Officer Robert Beyer, a campus cop who saw a black man with a laptop and decided he was a thief. Officer Beyer interrupted William's work, demanded a receipt for his computer, and accused him of stealing it to pawn it. He ignored William's explanation, his student status, and his distress. What Officer Beyer didn't know was that William was a brilliant scholar documenting environmental justice, and that his arrest would trigger a federal investigation into racial profiling on campus, costing the university $300,000 and ending the officer's career. This is the story of how one assumption destroyed 2 lives, but only one man deserved it. Let's begin. April 3rd, 2024, 2:17 p.m., Riverside University Library. William Lawson sits at his usual spot in the back corner of the library, the quiet section, where he can focus. He's been there since 9 a.m., 7 straight hours of revising Chapter 7 of his dissertation, the final chapter, the one his committee said needed more data, more analysis, more proof. His dissertation defense is in 4 days. 4 days until he becomes Dr. William Lawson, first person in his family to earn a doctorate. 6 years of research, hundreds of interviews, thousands of hours. All of it on the laptop in front of him. He's wearing his student ID badge, same one he's worn every day for 6 years. His name, his photo, PhD candidate, environmental studies. Around him, papers, highlighters, coffee cups, the organized chaos of someone who knows exactly what they're doing. He doesn't notice when Officer Robert Beyer enters the library. Beyer is on patrol, routine check, but 2 hours earlier someone called in a report. Suspicious activity in the library, a black male, late 20s, sitting alone. That's it. That's the entire report. No description of stolen property, no actual crime, just a black man, alone, in a library. And to Officer Beyer, that's enough. He approaches William from behind. His BodyCam is recording everything. William has his headphones in, classical music, helps him concentrate. He doesn't hear the officer approach. Beyer taps his shoulder. William looks up, startled, pulls out one earbud. Yes? William asks, polite, confused. He's done nothing wrong. Can I see some ID? Officer Beyer asks. William reaches for the badge already hanging around his neck, holds it up. Is something wrong? William asks. Beyer barely glances at the ID. Instead, his eyes lock on the laptop. Where'd you get that laptop? He asks. William blinks, confused. I'm sorry, what? The laptop, where did you get it? It's mine, I'm a student here. Do you have a receipt? William laughs, not because it's funny, because it's absurd. A receipt? I've had this laptop for 2 years. My research is on it, my dissertation, everything. Beyer shakes his head. Anyone can say that. I need proof. Proof? William's voice rises slightly. My name is on the university server. You can check. IT can verify. We've had reports of thefts in this library. You match a description. A description of what? William knows. He knows exactly what description he matches. Black, male. That's the description. Sir, I need you to step away from the computer, Beyer says. Step away? This is my laptop. I'm a PhD candidate. My advisor's office is upstairs. You can ask anyone. Sir, if you don't comply, I will place you under arrest. The words hang in the air. Arrest? For what? For owning a laptop? For studying while black? William's heart is racing now. He knows how this goes. He's read the studies. He's seen the videos. Black men in police encounters. They don't always end well. Officer, please, William says, his voice shaking now. My dissertation defense is in 4 days. I can prove this laptop is mine. Just let me... Turn around, hands behind your back. William freezes, stares at the officer, disbelieving. This can't be happening. Not here, not now, not 4 days before the biggest moment of his life. But it is happening. Other students are watching now, phones out, recording. One student, a white woman who sits near William every week, stands up. "Excuse me, officer?" she says. "I sit near him all the time. He's a grad student. That's his laptop." Beyer waves her off. "Ma'am, step back." Another student tries. "I've seen him here every day for months." "This doesn't concern you." William slowly turns around, hands behind him. He knows better than to resist, knows how that story ends. The handcuffs click shut. And in that moment, everything William has worked for, every late night, every sacrifice, every moment of brilliance, feels like it's slipping away. Beyer leads William out of the library, past the stairs, past the phone's recording, past his laptop still open on the desk, his dissertation glowing on the screen. William's student ID badge swings forward as he walks. PhD candidate, environmental studies. The badge Officer Beyer never bothered to look at. 3 hours later, William sits in a holding cell at the campus police station. No phone call, no explanation, just him and the concrete walls. His dissertation defense is in 4 days. He has revisions to finish, meetings to attend, a presentation to rehearse. Instead, he's in jail for theft of his own laptop. This is where our story begins, with an assumption, with a badge, with a black man who dared to be excellent in a space where someone decided he didn't belong. What Officer Beyer didn't know was that this wasn't just any student. This was William Lawson, and his story was about to become national news.
To understand what happened that day, you need to understand who William Lawson is. William grew up in South Memphis, Tennessee. His mother cleaned office buildings at night. His father worked double shifts at a warehouse. They lived 3 blocks from a chemical plant that would later be cited for environmental violations. William watched his neighbors get sick, watched them die young, cancer, respiratory disease, illnesses that seemed to cluster in his neighborhood, but not in the white suburbs 10 miles away. He was 8 years old when he asked his mother why everyone on their street was always coughing. She didn't have an answer, but William decided he would find one. He was the first person in his family to go to college, full scholarship to Riverside University, majored in environmental science, graduated top of his class. Then came the master's degree, 2 years of intensive research into industrial pollution in low-income communities, and then the PhD program. His dissertation title? Environmental Racism and Policy Neglect, How Industrial Pollution Targets Black and Brown Communities. It wasn't abstract theory, it was his life. For 6 years, William documented case after case of communities like his being treated as sacrifice zones, places where companies dumped waste, pumped out toxins, and faced minimal consequences. He interviewed hundreds of people, collected data from dozens of cities, built an ironclad case that environmental policy in America systematically ignored Black and brown lives. His research had been cited in congressional hearings. Environmental advocacy groups wanted to hire him. His professors called him one of the most promising scholars they'd ever taught. And in 4 days, he was supposed to defend that dissertation. 4 days until Dr. William Lawson. But first, he had to finish revising Chapter 7, the data chapter, the one that proved everything. That's why he was in the library that afternoon, April 3rd, 2:17 p.m., his usual spot, the place where he'd written thousands of words, the place where his life's work had taken shape. The library staff knew him by name. Security guards had seen him 100 times. He had a routine. Same spot, same laptop, same relentless focus. But Officer Robert Beyer didn't know any of that, because Officer Beyer had started his shift just 2 hours earlier, and all he knew was what the radio told him. Suspicious activity, blackmail, library. Robert Beyer had been a campus cop for 15 years. He liked to think of himself as a protector, someone who kept students safe, someone who prevented crime before it happened. But over those 15 years, something had happened. A pattern had formed. A pattern William Lawson's arrest would eventually expose. Officer Beyer had a history of stopping Black students, questioning them, demanding ID in situations where white students walked past unbothered. There had been complaints Quiet ones, students who didn't want to make waves, parents who were told it was just a misunderstanding. The university never investigated, never disciplined him, never looked at the pattern. They never had to, until now. On that April afternoon, Officer Beyer saw a laptop. Expensive, new-looking, Apple logo gleaming. He saw a black man, and his brain did what bias trains brains to do. It filled in a story. Theft, pawn shop, crime. It didn't matter that William's student ID was hanging around his neck. Didn't matter that his laptop was surrounded by academic papers with his name printed on every page. Didn't matter that the library staff could vouch for him. Officer Beyer had already decided, and once that decision was made, nothing William said could change it. When William tried to explain, Beyer heard excuses. When William offered to prove ownership, Beyer heard resistance. When William mentioned his dissertation, Beyer heard someone trying to talk their way out of consequences. Every word William spoke was filtered through Beyer's assumption: black man, laptop, thief. The conversation lasted less than 3 minutes, but in those 3 minutes, Officer Beyer made decisions that would destroy his career. He ignored the student ID, he dismissed the explanation, he refused to verify anything, he escalated instead of investigated, and then he made the arrest. William Lawson, PhD candidate, environmental justice scholar, days away from achieving his life's dream, was handcuffed in front of his peers for theft of his own property. As William was led out of the library, other students tried to help. A white woman who'd studied near him for months told Officer Beyer, "He's a grad student. I see him here all the time. That's his laptop." Beyer waved her off, told her to step back, told her it didn't concern her. Another student tried. Same response. Nobody could stop it, because once Officer Beyer made his decision, evidence didn't matter. At the campus police station, William was processed like any other arrestee. Fingerprints, photos, personal belongings confiscated, including the laptop. "When will I get it back?" William asked. "Once the investigation concludes," they told him. Investigation into what? There was no theft, no crime, no victim, just an assumption and a badge. William sat in that holding cell for 3 hours before anyone came to help. 3 hours where he should have been revising Chapter 7. 3 hours closer to a dissertation defense he might now miss. 3 hours of his life stolen, ironically, by the people accusing him of theft. When his advisor, Dr. Patricia Morgan, finally arrived, she was furious. "What in the hell is going on?" she demanded. "William is one of my top students. He's defending his dissertation this week." The officers exchanged uncomfortable looks. Slowly, they started checking. Laptop serial number, registered to William Lawson, purchased 2 years ago with a university research grant. Enrollment records, William Lawson, PhD candidate, stellar academic record, no disciplinary history. Library security footage, William entering with that exact laptop every single day for months. Everything William said was true, every word. Officer Beyer had been wrong, completely, catastrophically, undeniably wrong. They released William that evening. No apology, just, "You're free to go." William walked out into the night, dissertation defense now 2 days away. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, his hands were still shaking from the adrenaline and fear, and his laptop, the one he'd been arrested for stealing, was handed to him in a plastic evidence bag. But this story doesn't end there, because William Lawson wasn't done, not even close.
If you want to see how this ends, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss part 2 dropping in 2 days. See you there!